Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Knitting with me. I'm Nancy. I work at the Stitchin Post, and I'm here with Val, and we are going to show you our latest new yarn that came in. It's a yarn I love. It is 100% superwash. It is Malabrigo Rios. It is a full worsted weight. And the first color I want to show you is this color, Cucumber, because originally when we were going to order this from the beginning, I went, oh, no, don't. Oh, no, no, no. Well, it has to be one of my favorite colors now that we have it in. I love this color. And so Paula, Val, thank you. You guys were so correct. It's beautiful. It has 210 yards. It is a worsted weight, 100 gram skein. And what I want to mention as Val scans the colors, and I did leave the color names up, so I hope you can read them. If not, look at the video and enlarge it to see what number, and they all are up on our website. What is superwash yarn? And real quick, I wanted to give a little lesson, in superwash and how to make a superwash. So most of you know wool, and when we think about wool, we think about itchy and scratchy. Of course, I love wool over superwash, and I'll tell you why in a second. So how to make a superwash? Well, the first thing they do is it goes through what's called a stripper. And no, don't think rude thoughts. So you have, I got Val at least to laugh. So you have wool with all the burrs if you look at it. And what it goes through when it gets pulled through, it takes all those burrs off. And then it gets dipped in a chemical. So it is coated. That's what makes the superwash. It takes a lot of washings to get it to come off. But think about when you buy store-made socks and sometimes the heel felts, because you've washed it in hot water. Usually you wash a superwash in cold water. Lie flat. Sometimes you can tumble dry on low, which is the case with this, I believe, and a lot of our other superwash wools. Although this one says do not tumble dry flat. So every company, when you read their label, will tell you what they want you to do with their yarn. Superwash has another characteristic. It kind of gives a soft hand. When you do wash it and lay it out, it kind of droops a little bit. I don't want to say sagging, but it has a flow to it. So if you're looking sometimes for a drapey fabric, like I showed you Sueno from Skacel a couple of weeks ago, that is a superwash merino with bamboo. It's going to give it, once you wash it, an extra drape and really nice luster to it. It does have a nice shine with it. So it's a beautiful yarn. You do want it for socks because you can wash it. We also have a pattern. It's $1 from Malabrigo. And this is why, because I wanted to showcase this cowl today, and I am doing the pitch sweater, if you know it's a class that I'm doing, I wanted to talk about charts and how to read a chart today, because it seems to be confusing to a lot of people. So to give you first an update on the pitch sweater, this is it. I just cracked my nail. So I'm up. I've decreased for the armholes, and I'm just almost up to the top. The other thing, and I haven't discussed yet, and I'll do it on another tutorial, is how to measure your knitting when we measure. And a lot of people, I want to tell you, you must pat your knitting down. Do not stretch it open. By doing this, you can add a ½ inch to your knitting. So I know you want to get to that 20 inches or whatever it is, or 8, but by stretching it, you're not. The reality is Just lie it on a flat surface, not on your lap, not over books, but or on your bed. Don't do that. Kitchen counters, any kind of table, hard surface, lie it flat, pat it down, and measure. And when I measure, it's in the center, not just the edge. So, for instance, I am going to have to measure my armhole at some point. And if you come straight over, if this is where my armhole started, my decrease is here, I'm going to measure from here up. You do not measure an armhole by measuring around the hole, because you will get to 7 inches a lot quicker that way than you will this way. And then your armhole would look like this and not fit on you at all. So you need to move your tape measure in and go straight up. The other thing, and in some of the writings and how we talk about, and when I taught some knitting, and I'm borrowing from Amy Herzog, she talks about how the ant crawls, and then you do measure this armhole to match the cap of your sleeve, because it's as, with quotes, as the ant crawls. So let's go into charts. And the first one I'm going to talk about, I'm going to open up 2 things on here. And I'm going to lay pages out. Probably, yes, because. So I'm using the pitch sweater because I do have some people doing it that don't live here, but it's a really good one to teach charts in. And I am going to use my Coco Knits Fixer tool as my pointer, just because it's going to work today. When we read a chart, and I want to tell a little story about learning cables real quick, because those of you who know me from back east know that I opened up my store in 2009 as a non-knitter. And everybody said, you have to knit a sweater. And I went, yeah, I don't knit. But they said you had to knit. So I embarked on learning and teaching myself how to knit. I had some of the basics, but I flunked if you talk to my sister about it. And so I had to knit a hat that had cables and was in the round. And I had no idea. I'd never done cables. I didn't know how to read a chart, and every row was charted, and I wasn't sure on what to do. So I started reading the chart as if I was reading a book. And when we read a book, we read left to right. Wrong. So I'm going to tell you now. Charts, and this is why, now Val can come up close, they put numbers on the right side. Of course, I didn't pay attention back then. Here is number 1, which means you are knitting right to left, which is exactly, if you're a right-hand knitter now, or knitting right-handed, you are knitting your stitches, taking them from the left-hand needle to your right needle. So these stitches here represent the stitches on your needle. If you notice, I am not in the round on this sweater, and here is row 2, and it's going back the other way. Now, a lot of you, and I'm going to, if, excuse me, we put this over row 2, you will notice it's the same on both sides. You will also notice, and I'll show you how to read the key, on this particular pattern, you're knitting the knits and purling the purls. So it's how I teach reading your stitches, because in charts, you have to know how to read your stitches, how to look to the row below to find a mistake. The other thing I want to tell you about reading charts are markers are your friends. So let's go over what a legend is. And it's a tale from far along. No. This legend is telling you what these boxes in your chart mean. So for instance, a white box here means knit stitch on the right side and purl stitch on the wrong side. Oh, there you go.
Now I can see both.
If I go to the next one that's shaded with a line through it, it's purl on the right side, knit on the wrong side. Now again, why is that important? On this chart that we're going back and forth on, row 1, this would be a purl, but on row 2, which is the wrong side, it's going to be a knit. Does everybody get that? Now, when we look at these symbols here, which everybody's going, oh my gosh, what does that mean? That's a cable stitch. And it is telling you by showing you which way the cable's going. So if we look here where it says a 1x1 left cross, and if you look at this one, it's a 2x2 left cross. And if you notice, both are leaning to the left.
Yeah.
Here, it's a right cross, 1x1. Now, what does 1x1 mean? 1x1 means it's taking up 2 stitches on your chart.
And the 2x2 takes up 4.
Correct. Way to go, Val.
I know, it's so smart.
So 2x2 is 4 stitches. And all you are doing is switching the positions. So if I look here, I have 4 stitches all 1, 2, 3, 4 going the same way. Mm-hmm. And let me lift these 4 up. And now, when I get to my left-leaning cable, it's leaning to the left. All I'm doing is taking 2 stitches off, and if I want them to go to the left, I'm going to hold them in front, knit the next 2 off my needle, and then knit the 2 off my cable needle. How easy is that? So here, when I didn't know how to read charts or do cables, I did everything backwards. And so my outside looked like my wrong side. Now, again, going back to charts, this key is really, really important. This box with a circle in it is a yarn over. And if I look at these 2 symbols, one, a diagonal with a bar going to the right means knit 2 together, and this way going to the left is an SSK. Now this pattern modified it. But if I come over here, you will notice those symbols show up. Mm-hmm. The last thing I want to go over in this lead here is a red box. And a red box is pretty universal. And if I come up here and look at, you'll see that there's an outline of a red box. And I have a lot of questions of, what does that mean? Well, if down here I look at it, it says it's a 14-stitch repeat. But if I count from here to here, I'm going to count 15 stitches. So what do I do? It is telling me here to start at 1, go across 15, and if it tells you to do this pattern twice, 3 times, all the way across your row, you are only repeating what's in this red box, which means this stitch here is an edge stitch. At the beginning of the pattern, it's an edge. But in between, they don't want it. So how would that look? If I spread this apart, which is this cable here, so from here to here, well, I'm knitting from here to here. I'm looking at it upside down, sorry. So I've started at this edge right here. Here's a purl stitch. I've knit, I've purled, I have my first cross here, a purl in the center, my second cross, and then I have a purl, knit, purl. But now I start back here on the white, which means I start with a knit. And it goes knit, purl, the same thing. And if you notice, I end with a purl. So the two edges are identical. And now where does that come in? Let's show this cowl I was talking about. Now, I know this chart, it's shiny, so Val's having an issue. I think you guys might get a glare.
I'm sorry, we'll deal with it.
But, again, here is that red box. That's your repeat. Meaning, if it tells you to start at row 1, go to that and repeat 6 times, and I don't know that it does. You are only going to repeat what's in this box, however many times they tell you, and then move to the next stitch and finish the row. Now, if you notice, all the numbers here are on the right side. That is because we are in the round on this. So you are always knitting on the right side because you're in round. There's no wrong side row. Now, there are some people who love charts, and others, if you come, and again, here's the key, what everything means.
Some people like to read it.
And some of these patterns are written out row by row. And it's giving you the rows. So everybody likes different things. I had a friend back east who only likes charts, where I love things that are written out for me. Just a difference. But charts are not scary. And they're really easy to read, go row by row. And I apologize, I forgot to bring over, but I have my pattern keepers, which are coming back in stock today. And I use a pattern keeper because it has a large metal bar, and I can move up row by row by row on it and keep track of where I am, which really is what you need to do. So however you keep track, whether it's a row counter, which we have back on order from Coco Knits. I love their row counter because it has a locking feature on it so that your kids can't play with it. You can lock it when you're done. And again, I've shown all my favorite Coco Knits tools. They are my favorite. I can't get enough of them, to be honest, with them. But I really wanted to go over to charts because some people have been in the past week, and they're starting to get their projects for the winter and thinking about Christmas projects. which we are going forward with. You'll get more clues, hint, hint, coming in the coming weeks. I did mention 2 weeks ago that I wanted to try to do a sweater knit along on this Wednesday morning before the holidays. Realistically, I have to apologize, I can't do that. My daughter, who's getting married in November, I'm knitting her a lace shawl, which is probably going to take about 100 hours. I didn't realize how long it takes to do lace on size 1 needles, where I thought I could get quicker. It's like an hour per a ½ inch, and I need 60 inches. So I'm not very far on that, but the pitch sweater. But I do have a sweater planned for January. That'll be a Wednesday knit-along. We are trying to come up with other ways to do classes for you who are far away. To do it, Val is swamped with her Zoom classes and her mom's, so I'm working with Diane. So please be patient. I know a lot of you have contacted Diane, and we are trying to work out how to do that. In the meantime, I'll try to do more and more projects on Wednesdays and different techniques. I hope you all have a great day. A good week. Stay safe, please. And I know a lot who are dealing with the fires. I hope you are well. Our smoke hopefully will be kind of blowing out of here by this weekend. A lot of you have reached out and asked how we are here. Thank you. It's just smoky. None of us are nervous about fire hitting us here in town, but the smoke is kind of icky, as I tell people, or yucky, I think is the word I used. See you all next week. Have a good afternoon. Bye.